Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, despite what some left-wing narrators like Political Chatter and Let's Talk Elections, they are continuously telling us that Trump is destroying America. The Republicans are going to lose badly in the midterms. These are words that Democrat strategists like James Carville use. We are not seeing this through registration. In fact, you are currently seeing new numbers in regards to. Oops, I don't know what happened to. There we go. Yeah, we're seeing new numbers in regards to registrations, and in every single state, Republicans are gaining rapidly. Okay, and this goes as to show that, you know what, with current data in the 2024 election, it's pretty safe to say that there has been a new alignment in some said states. And we're going to go over that today. First, obviously, this isn't no surprise. Many of these said Democrats / Republicans are leaving dramatically. Why? Why are they doing that? Well, it's obvious. The Democratic Party has nothing to run on but to hate Trump. Hate Trump and be opposed to everything. And I mean everything, including cleaning up crime, which seems to be an issue that is, of course, bipartisan. But according to the modern-day Democratic Party, that's bad, right? Because cleaning up crime and helping African Americans, especially in these cities where there are prominent black populations like Philadelphia, New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., trying to help these black voters and making sure that black people are safe. That's racist. It's racist to help black people be safe. It's racist to try to stop black crime, to try to stop black on black crime. It's racist. And we should allow black crime to continue and allow black people to suffer because of black crime. This is what the left is telling us. This is what the media is telling us. These are what the far left woke revolutionaries in the BLM, they're telling us this. That we just have to let crime go the way it is and let the low income and minority communities be affected by this the most. So it really doesn't really make sense, and obviously common sense people are going to leave the circus, okay? When you show up to an event and you find out that event is turning into a circus, you just leave. And this is what the Democratic Party is. It's become a circus. And as a result, you just leave because it's become an utter joke. Now, there are some people that will say, you know what, we're just going to become independents. Others will say, you know what, I was raised in the Democratic Party of the 90s. The Democratic Party of the 90s is pretty much the GOP at this point. I'm going to become a Republican, and that's exactly what you've been seeing, because you have states like West Virginia that have been relatively Democratic throughout the years, right? Democratic strongholds, especially during the 1990s, where the state solidly backed Democrats by a solid margin, by over 20 percentage points. And now the state is solidly Republican. So it used to be this, all blue. And you just had a few Republican counties here and there. But these counties were mostly blue, mainly because of the labor unions who had the miners. And the miners trusted on West Virginia Democrats to fight for them. They were pro-labor union. And, of course, but here's the difference between this party and that. They were less strained on social issues. Sure, the Democratic Party was more liberal back then. They supported abortion. They were more tossed up when it came to marriage. And they were mostly respectable and, of course, tolerant. But obviously, the Democratic Party of West Virginia has abandoned the minor issues and now mining issues, to be exact. And you'll see over the course of years, it continues to fall under Barack Obama. The whole Democrats haven't even carried a county. This is their fourth consecutive election cycle where Democrats failed to carry at least one county in the state of West Virginia. We're talking about a state that used to be a reliable Democratic stronghold and backed Jimmy Carter, one of the worst U.S. presidents in 1980. Why? Because they trusted Jimmy Carter on the issues of mining and the labor when it comes to that, which issues that heavily impact West Virginia. Now, Republicans have taken on those issues, and there's no doubt about it. The West Virginia labor unions back Republicans because in their minds, they are the party of the working class. So, yeah, and because of this, West Virginia is a huge drop. And you'll be like, is West Virginia getting more redder? In other words, well, West Virginia, there's a reason why we're talking about West Virginia. West Virginia is a great state to talk about when it comes to how the Democratic Party went from sane to now insane. You will see from West Virginia. West Virginia has been showing the signs of the strain of the Democratic Party in the state since of the Obama era. But now you're seeing, of course, specifically, they said West Virginia. Let's see, political party registration by counties. I think there's a county map by registration and by the voters. So yes, there is a map because this, and believe it or not, there are counties in West Virginia that are still Democrat counties. And all these counties, all these blue counties backed Republicans in 4 election cycles. They backed Trump all 3 times and Mitt Romney. So why are they Democratic? Now, let's be honest. We have strongholds. Look at this county. Look at these two. We're talking about 80%. These 2 counties, they're 80% Republican. 80% of them voted for Trump. And these counties dominate in the Democratic registration, in the registrations. So why are these Democrats voting Republican? So what you're seeing right now is probably these counties specifically right here, and these counties too, they're all switching to Republican. They're like, dang nabbit, why am I a Democrat? Well, I voted for 4 times for the Republican. I have a 20-year voter record for Republicans. I might as well be a Republican. And that's what a lot of these people are realizing. And it's about time. You should not be expecting these counties to be Democratic much longer. And in my mind, they're solid red counties. You can't convince me that these 8 counties that backed Donald Trump 80% of the time are Democrat counties. You would laugh, but the registration records say otherwise. But we also have to talk about other important analysis. So Democrats in the key net worth, they've lost 7% of their base from 2020 to 2024. And from 2020 to 2024, Republicans gained a net worth of 8. And of course, you saw rises not just in Florida. You saw a little bit rise, but there were much more rises, like in Idaho and Wyoming. But to be honest, I will be honest with you, a lot of this has to do with former Democrats, okay? I don't know if there's a Wyoming political party map by county. But I would imagine, no, there isn't. But I would imagine it would look something very similar to the 1990s map, as the registration really, political party registration usually follows the trends in the 1990s. Yeah, you're going to see some blue counties. A lot of this has to do with previous registration. Now, some people haven't changed their registration because a lot of these people, they register when they are like 18. They register when they turn the first time they vote in a presidential election. And a lot of them don't think of deregistering, and a lot of people don't know they are registered. So once they find out they're a registered Democrat or something like that, they'll be like, oh no, I gotta change. And that's probably what we're probably going to see. So I would not be surprised to see a registration map in Wyoming to look similar to like this. But I want to talk about other consequential swing states, because really the swing states are what matters. We know West Virginia will solidly back Republicans. And you really shouldn't be excited about Republicans gaining in West Virginia, Democrats losing so much, because we're going to win that state regardless. What you got to look at, be excited about, is Arizona, because we're talking about Arizona and we're looking at the 2025 election, and part of 24 election, excuse me. I found one of the biggest surprises was how much Arizona backed Trump by. I was surprised and was astounded to know and that Trump overperformed his 2016 performance, which I didn't think he would do. In fact, he won a margin by 5.5, which took me huge by surprise. Which means that it's technically not in the toss-up category anymore, and it's in the leaning Republican category. In other words, Minnesota is much closer to a swing state status than the state of Arizona. And that is consequential. And because of this, Democrats, once again, they are panicking. And they have every reason more to panic, because you have continuous results of Democrats losing in Arizona and Republicans gaining. And you've seen counties like Santa Cruz County. It formerly was extremely Democratic, and now it's shifted solidly to the right. Why? It's because specifically of the Hispanic voters. A lot of them are religious, Catholic. A lot of them are against abortion, although the county did back the abortion referendum that year. I do believe it was somewhat tossed up and pretty close and competitive there. Roman Catholic and religious values and culture, as we know, as prevalent in the Hispanic community, exists. But you also have Pima County, which has Tucson, and we know all Democrats won Arizona specifically because obviously Republicans didn't get what they needed in Tucson and in Pima County, and you had Coconino going 60% for Biden. Okay, now Coconino can be somewhat of a struggle sometimes, but they're not really the populous county. The number one counties you want to look at is Pima and Coconino. Oh, I know, Coconino, never mind. Pima and Maricopa. And Maricopa has Phoenix. And Trump didn't even win Phoenix by much. He won it, Maricopa, by 3.47, which is relatively good. As a surprise to me, you have Phoenix in there, and Phoenix, of course, did back Kamala Harris, and part of the reason, however, Maricopa is pretty conservative in the metro areas and the suburban areas, and it looks like we're going to continue. Not to mention trends in like Yuma County. Not only this county, this might be Yuma, but this county right here, relatively Hispanic, could possibly go to 60%, like Yuma. Well, I would say Yavapai County, I want to believe. I kind of know my Arizona counties. Could relatively go like that. If it goes 60%, that helps Republicans. And I bet you registration's telling you that right now. Nevada, so relatively, Red Eagle is saying it's going to be likely, but that's why midterm year is going to be very, very important. Arizona is a state that Republicans need to watch, because I'm telling you, if Republicans pull off something similar to what they do in Florida in 2022, we can put Arizona into a solid Republican in a decided state. We could put it into a Florida-like status. In 2026, Republicans have some opportunities. Now there's no Senate election in Arizona, but there is the governor's mansion that they could easily flip. Obviously, you have Katie Hobbs. She does have no real much room to gain. And in fact, she's going to have to convince the Santa Cruz residents to back her, these Hispanic voters that have formally backed her, to vote for her again. And it doesn't look like that Santa Cruz voters are going to go to her. It looks like they are going to trend more to the left, and I can guarantee you Santa Cruz being more liberal compared to Pima will follow, and that would give that Republican the victory. A lot of people say, oh, well, if Hobbs wins Maricopa County, then it's over. No, that's not really how it works like that. Numbers matter, and honestly, if you ramp up the numbers in Yavapai and Yuma counties, you're going to win. And that's what we're going to probably see in there. You also have the Secretary of State election. You can take out Adrian Fontes and get the Republican in, whoever that nominee would be. That is the Secretary of State. You flip that. You flip the Attorney General's race. You get Chris Maez out, former Republican turned Democrat. You win that. And regardless if Kimberly Yee is going to run for re-election, I don't think she is. I think she's term limited. Yes, she will not seek re-election. If we hold this, good news for Republicans. Superintendent of Public Instruction is going to be a little bit, if Tom Horn holds his seat, and you'll see, he won this election without winning Maricopa, so it's not always a bellwether. Not guaranteed. But state minor inspector is pretty much off the table and off the charts. Republicans obviously will win, probably, likely, and come Arizona. And let's just say we lose one of those, and we do our best flipping most. Then that's a great year. And it's probably likely that you're going to see that Red Eagle is correct. Arizona would be likely Republican. But what about Nevada, okay? What about Nevada? What's your opportunities in Nevada? Because Nevada, just like in Arizona, you have opportunities to look at Nevada into 2028 because you have a governor's race. Really looking at Joe Lombardo. How is Joe Lombardo going to pull off his re-election bid? He is likely going to succeed. He is relatively very popular. You got some seats coming out, some polls, some predictions. You got Sabutu's crystal ball saying it's going to be leaning Republican. Race to the White House tilting Republican. Joe Lombardo is defeating the popular Attorney General Aaron Ford by 11 points. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. So you could say, okay, your expectations in Nevada are set regardless. Democrats could say, well, the Republicans won 11 points in Nevada, not because of registration. They just won because Joe Lombardo is a very popular and well-liked governor. But they can't save face when you suddenly have Stavros Anthony winning re-election for the lieutenant governorship. And you have, of course, the Attorney General. Obviously, if Aaron Ford runs, then this seat is vacant, and Republicans could end up flipping it. And yes, you do see that Aaron Ford is popular. He did win Carson City, and which means that poll, very damning to him. Like, obviously, there can be polls where he overperforms, but let's be honest. It's going to be quite difficult. Got the 2022 Lieutenant Governor, of course. Secretary of State. We could flip that office, getting Kisco Aguila out. If we do the same, we pull something off, we hold Andy Matthews in the said state, because we did flip a lot of these offices in 2022. State Controller, you had Zach Conine. We can take him out and that's for the treasurer. And if we do that, guys, if we end up doing this, now I don't really like to count the Supreme Court. It's not really Republican versus Democrat. But if we end up pulling this off, then that's a W. And we could actually add Nevada. to the likely Republican registration. So really, you eliminated 2 swing states. That means there are going to be less states that are going to be on the battleground map. So Republicans have the opportunity to eliminate battleground states off the map. Just like Republicans are eliminating compatible seats, House seats in 2026, Republicans can invest in good numbers in Nevada, Arizona, and not only mention, you could do it in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is going to be difficult because you have Josh Shapiro. He's a very popular governor. He's running on the top of the ticket, and there's not really much races other than, I think that's it. I think they only do the governor's race, and they do their other few races in the presidential year, but this is pretty much going to be your said battleground map as of right now, unless things change in Minnesota. I think Twin Cities will make it relatively more Democrat in the end of the night. But you're going to have a map very similar to this. You also have North Carolina. Looking at North Carolina, yeah, huge drop in registration. And here they're saying, I'm picking on political chatter again, but he says, Democrats are favored to win Roy Cooper, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're facing a very different Democratic Party now, not to mention this is a year that's not so beneficial to North Carolina Democrats. If Roy Cooper was going to run for something, he should have ran last year, but couldn't blame him because, of course, there is no office for him to run for. He's term limited. He can't run for a third term, as lots of people would think he would want to. So you could say, as of right now, it's going to be relatively Republican. But yes, this is pretty much your map. I would add New Hampshire pretty much as a swing state. You look at New Hampshire and you got a good steady drop. You got a good rise in New Hampshire. You could say, it's because of these radical governments in Vermont and Massachusetts. I have mentioned that, you know what, we shouldn't have much of an expectation in New Hampshire, mainly because of, I don't know if I said Vermont, but yes, New Hampshire, you shouldn't have much of an expectation. Reason why I say this is mainly because of the fact that you have people from Vermont and Massachusetts. They go into the state all the time. Mainly, a lot of them they're hypocrites. They say, we support the Democratic Party, and they complain and whine and cry about the high taxes in Vermont, Massachusetts, and they go and live in New Hampshire, spreading their crud all over the state. So, yeah, it's kind of how that goes, but this is pretty much a toss-up map. Republicans would be guaranteed to win 252. That's pretty much a best-case scenario. I'm having a hard time seeing North Carolina doing any better for Democrats. As far as I'm concerned, North Carolina is zooming to the right and in recent years, and more people North Carolina is becoming more like a Florida, and it's something you got to be interesting to watch. So I'm kind of curious to see how Republicans, if they pull something off in the midterms in regards to Roy Cooper. And, of course, you got Nevada and Arizona. You're going to watch those states also. And Pennsylvania. If we end up losing by 2 points, that's a huge win for Republicans by the fact that, hey, look, Josh Shapiro, this is a future alleged presidential election candidate, and they said, he's all popular and he gets reelected by only 2 percentage points. That is not a good argument to say that, I'm so popular, well-liked, yada, 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 yada. It's going to derail that argument. But yes, this is obviously very good news for Republicans, and it dismantles everything. You can pull up all the garbage polls you want on Donald Trump and the issues. It's the real approval rating is going to be the registrations. Regardless of what people think about the president, most people do like the president's political party because the party runs on actual issues, the party of small government. Democrats can't even get behind and say, we're the party of big government. Not to mention, big government is unpopular. They'll just say, we're the party of eat the rich. We're the party of accountability for the rich. No, you're the party of big government. And they know they can't get away with saying that. really, they can't say they're the party of blank. They're just the party of hating Trump, and they know it. That's the only thing they campaign on, the anti-Trump party. And once Trump is gone in 2029, they have absolutely nothing to campaign on because they've ditched everything, maybe except for socialism in their political party. So anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.